In this video, I'm going to go through my year-end checklist to talk about things that you might want to look at year-end in preparation for your tax return. Now, you can start some of this stuff ahead of time before the year is over, and then some of it will have to be done after the year is over. And the first thing that I try to do is make sure all transactions are entered into the system. And hopefully you've been doing this all year, but if not, you're going to have to catch up a little bit and get all those transactions in. And what I mean by that is all your credit card transactions and all of your bank account transactions need to be posted in your accounting software. And then another thing I like to look at is undeposited funds. I like to give a quick overview of that just to make sure there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. You may have payments that were posted that haven't been deposited yet, and that's okay, but you just want to make sure there's nothing else there that shouldn't be, like a duplicate payment or something like that. But sometimes you will have undeposited funds at year end if you use a payment processing system and you process a payment at the very end of the year, but it doesn't actually deposit it in your bank account until the beginning of the next year. That happens sometimes, and that's okay. But I just like to give it a quick overview and make sure everything looks okay in that account. Another thing I like to look at is accounts payable and just look at any open vendor bills and make sure they're valid and make sure there weren't any errors there, such as a payment that wasn't posted to the correct vendor bill. And in general, I just like to go over accounts payable and just make sure it looks accurate. And then I also like to look at accounts receivable and make sure that looks accurate. I'll look at any open invoices, make sure they are accurate, and then I will make sure payments were posted to customer invoices correctly. And then I would want to go ahead and reconcile everything through December 31st. All credit card accounts and all bank accounts, I would want to make sure they were reconciled through the end of the year. Now, sometimes credit card statements are not at the very end of the month. Sometimes they happen in the middle of the month. So what I usually try to do is reconcile those in January as soon as the January statement comes out. That way I don't miss anything that's maybe at the end of December after I reconciled that December credit card statement. And then another thing I'm going to do while I'm reconciling the accounts is look at anything outstanding, any checks that haven't cleared, any expenses that haven't cleared, and any deposits that haven't cleared. I'm going to look over those and make sure they're all valid transactions, and maybe they just haven't cleared or they're going to clear in a future month. And then another thing I'm going to want to do is look at inventory and see if the physical inventory count at year end matches what's in the accounting records. And if not, I'm going to need to make some adjustments for that. So this is only relevant if you have an inventory-based business. And then another thing I'm going to want to do is look at loan balances and make sure they match what is on the year-end statement and make sure interest and principal payments were posted correctly throughout the year. And then once I get to this point, I'm probably going to go ahead and just give the reports a good overview and look for any other mistakes that I might find. So I would probably look at a P&L and a balance sheet and just give it a good review and make sure there's no other errors that I might not have found in the other steps. And then another thing I'm going to want to do is look at vendor payments and make sure any W-9s are on file. Another thing I like to do is look at the payroll transactions and make sure the W-2s are correct. And if possible, I also like to check with employees and make sure their address is correct in the system so that their W-2 goes to the right place, especially if I know that they moved during the year. And then once I get to this point, I've probably already talked to the tax preparer and told them that the books were ready for them to prepare the tax return. And once they prepare the tax return, sometimes they will have adjusting journal entries for me to enter. And then a few other things to mention. First of all, if you have any special types of accounts, such as if you're an attorney and you have escrow or trust accounts, or if you have anything else that's kind of unique to your business, you would want to give that a good overview also at year end. And if you're using accrual-based accounting, you would probably also look for any entries you need to make at year end for things like wages incurred but not paid yet, any revenues that have been earned but haven't been billed to customers yet, and just things like that. You would do that as well. And then I also want to mention that some software programs want you to do a hard close on the software for the year. And that's just to prevent anybody from making any changes after the tax returns have been prepared. And QuickBooks gives you the option. You don't have to do it, but it is an option in QuickBooks. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and thank you for watching.